Hi, everyone. Welcome to a very special episode of Second Act Actors. I'm your host, Dr. Janet McMorty, and I'm still a medical doctor simultaneously trying to pursue a career in acting. This is my Sundance Film Festival Part 2 episode, and I'm calling this Sundance Potpourri because I have for you today a bunch of little mini interviews that I had the privilege of doing during the Sundance Film Festival. So these are all interviews that I did with people that I met at the beautiful Sundance Film Festival in Park City, Utah. So please enjoy Sundance Potpourri. This interview is with director Ian Bawa. Ian is from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, and his short film, My Son Went Quiet, premiered at Slamdance. Now, Slamdance is a film festival that's just adjacent to Sundance. Literally, it's just down the road, and it has an incredible array of indie films that I was able to check out. I was able to watch Ian's film at Slamdance. Again, it's called My Son Went Quiet, and oh my gosh, it is incredible. I bawled silently. I didn't make too much noise in the theater. I just had tears streaming down my face. It is incredibly powerful. It is based on Ian's true life story. You hear Ian's voice in the film. You also hear the real, little bit of spoiler alert, real 911 call that occurred during Ian's life. So definitely, if you can get your hands on a copy of this film or go see a screener of it, it is absolutely incredible. Please enjoy my conversation with incredibly talented director Ian Bawa. Tell me your story. How did you get into directing?
I'm a failed law student. I dropped out of law school many years ago, and then found my way to film. Eventually, actually I worked in radio for a while, found my way to film. Did every single job to the point where I was like really good at refusing because I understood everything. And then it just wasn't enough. My friends and I made a bunch of movies I did well, played TIFF, played around the world. And then I just wanted to direct, I used to write tour. So I just started doing it, started getting hired for it, but I already had a name as a producer, so just grind.
That's awesome.
That's how it is.
So a lot of people, I think the thing that comes through like podcasts is that a lot of people starting in one career and then changed careers into the entertainment industry. A lot of times it's because they were really creative in their upbringing, but some well-intentioned, or maybe not so well-intentioned people in their lives said, you know, maybe you should go to law school. Maybe you should do something that's a reasonable career path. Did you feel that?
Yeah, 100%. I think I'm a first in South Asian immigrants. So it's like I had the parents who were like, doctor, lawyer, do something good with your life. Even though both my parents were essentially musicians, and they didn't. My mom got a master in sitar. My dad played tabla, and they just were like, no, we came to Canada, you make good. And it was after my mom passed away, that's when I had to like reshift my life. I'm like, I'm not happy. I'm not going to be happy being a lawyer. I have to figure this out. The one thing that makes me happy is watching movies and talking about movies. How do I make that into a career? And it just slowly evolved into like making. I've always been addicted to making things, whether it was music or film or something. And just eventually I grew my skill elevating and storytelling. Like I think that's my story.
Yeah.
I'm a healthy narcissist. So I like to tell stories about my stuff. But I think it's just it's weird. I tell people all the time, like I do a lot of public speaking where I'm like, you can make money doing this. That's what I do for a living. I own properties, plural, and I'm doing fine.
Yes.
So yeah, you can do it.
I think there's so much of an idea of like a career in whimsy, because it is so whimsical, right? Like, how dare you be so whimsical when there are other things that are like, this is what will contribute to society.
Right.
And I know for myself, coming from a career in medicine, this is a societally acceptable career.
Right.
I know. But I think what I love about what we're saying is the storytelling aspect, because what I find, and correct me if I'm wrong here about legacy, is what gets transferred from generation to generation is not my work in medicine, as much as I'd love to think it would be. It's the stories that we tell to pass on.
Yeah.
And I think you're storytelling in every aspect of our lives, including things like the sciences, the logical career paths. That storytelling, I think, actually transform generational change. Yeah.
I agree. It's one of those things, like, I struggle a lot of time being like, I am not doing something worthwhile.
Right.
I am not doing something that will change the world we were rewarding and actually successful. But there's that aspect of storytelling where people create documentaries, they tell this information that's very important, contains that can create thought or meaning or emotions. And that's the thing, like, I've said now, like, I've done a lot of, like, thoughts of, like, what do I like making? And a lot of it, like, I like to tell stories that hits the heart. Like, I like to go through a fun world of whatever, and at the end hit the heart. So at the end of the movie, you go, oh, that meant something.
Yeah.
I did not waste 10 minutes or 30 minutes, or 90 minutes of my time. And I think that's tweaking up at a sense. That's creating something and a process.
Yeah.
You know.
Speaking of hitting the heart, your movie, when we're in Park City, Utah, we are at their, Sundance, but also, just as important, Slamdance, the other festival that's here, where your film is premiering. And I got to see a screener of it at Sold Out. Your film is called My Son Went Quiet. And I kid you not, and I'm not blowing skulls up your butt. I had tears streaming down my face.
Really?
Yeah, that's great. It is so moving. And I know a bit of the story behind the film.
Right.
But I would love if you would share the story behind the film.
Yeah.
Because it's so powerful.
Yeah. Well, Slamdance 1 is like, it's funny. It's an interesting festival because it's like parallel to Sundance. It came in existence because Sundance was so big that they were like, let's make the sister festival that's just as cool. But it's like the hipster where Christopher Nolan and all these like big directors started out. So it's like that. They were like, you start there and then you do Sundance.
Right.
So it's great. And it's like same party, same vibes. But the movie started out as like this short story after my dad died. I wrote this like story of just like me grieving. And it was this, it was about this father and son. They come back from a funeral and the son stops talking, and they start seeing a shadow in the wall, and the kid thinks it's his mom, and the dad kind of accepts it and like this shadow in the wall probably is your mom, and the shadow, you never fully see it move, but it kind of has these like weird moments where you kind of focus it. You never physically see it get up and go do something, like it kind of does wait. So you know it exists. And it's the idea of grief and how grief stays with us. And it's like, I'm not going to spoil the movie, but there's like a twist in it that like where you think it's going somewhere, but else. And yeah, it's a movie, like, honestly, it struggled with it for a long time. It's personal, like, look, my parents died. And so it just comes from a place of, like, grief sucks.
Yeah.
And sometimes it never stops something. Yeah. I was also worried that it might be grief porn. And I don't think it is at this point, but, like, it's something I do struggle with sometimes. But, you know, grief is so confusing. So whatever I interpret is fine. What other people interpret, and I'm happy people want to see it.
Yeah. It is a beautiful film. Again, I was very, very moved by it. I know a lot of people in the theater that I was in were very moved. And it was very interesting because in the order of the shorts that we saw, you came right after probably the quote-unquote funniest one. Comic relief, right? So everyone was laughing. It was kind of like, oh, yeah. And then yours came on, and I don't think many people knew what to expect.
Love it.
In the best way,
yeah,
right?
No, that, yeah.
And I think also there was and maybe this is going to sound a little...
Laughs?
Yeah.
It was uncomfortableness.
Uncomfortableness.
Yeah, it's great.
And I think there was also a really humanizing piece to your actors.
Right.
They felt like... And we are in, Park City, Utah, and here is, I'm assuming he was Sikh?
Yes.
Yeah. Here are these beautiful, humanizing people. Well, let people go, okay, here's a story, and I bet part of it is going to be about... It's going to
be a Punjabi family.
Exactly. We're learning about the Middle East. This is going to be hit me in the face with it.
Yeah.
But no, it was just, here is a story about grief that we all related to. And, yeah, there were a lot of little titters.
Good.
In the best way.
I had a I'm going to call it a private screening in Toronto for whatever, long story short. But it was part of like kind of a series of bunch of shorts that played, and that happened. A bunch of people were laughing, and this weird woman next to me, she knew I was the filmmaker. She went, "Is this a comedy?" And I was like, I turned to her, I was like, "Shut the fuck up, what's anything?" But it was funny. People were so uncomfortable because they didn't know where it was going.
Yes.
But that by the end, everyone was like in tears.
Yep.
And yeah, like it was a really good reaction. And honestly, I love making films so people don't know what the fuck is gonna go next. That is the winning combination. The predictability. It's too much in a world. You know, the joke is Simpson did it. Simpson has done most things.
Yeah.
And so now we have to like find a way to reinvent the Simpson or reinvent the new idea. So like if I can find a way to like trick people into thinking something and we go this way or just new direction, great. Yeah. Always be different or always be bigger.
I love it. Do you have anything that you are looking forward to coming up this year?
I'm making my first feature. Yeah, so thank you. In like 8 months, 9 months. So stress of that. And yeah, I have like new shorts that I made that was part of the Canadian Film Center that I just graduated from or finished. And so that will be going somewhere at some point. So I don't know if it'll be back here or somewhere, but you know, it's going to start its festival circuit. This one is just beginning. So one on the go right now. And I'm shooting a TV show with my dog for CBC in Canada.
Oh,
yeah.
That's fantastic.
So we're traveling around right now and we're almost done that. So
very cool.
A lot of stuff on the go, but
that's awesome. Yeah. And your premiere of My Son Went Quiet is when?
It's Wednesday the 24th at 3:15. Perfect. At the Euro in Park City, Utah.
It's a part of the Slamdance Film Festival. This interview is with second act actor John Mawson. John is a merchant marine turned actor. He has a really cool project that he talks about. It is an audio drama. Ugh, we love podcasts. Yes, my podcast is a non-fictional podcast, but this is a fictional audio drama, fictional podcast. Definitely check it out. I'll put the link to it in the show notes below. Please enjoy my conversation with merchant marine turned actor John Mawson. So tell me your story. What brings you to Sundance? How did you get into this entertainment?
Well, I'm here at Sundance at like third every year for the show we on Sensible that we've made, which we'll be launching on Grammy that can be done. So we're very excited about that. It's been a major project in many years. And so that's like we did. I came here on our side, I did here, she was like 12 years ago. And just to ride on stage, it's like, I need to know what's going in this world. So I came along and just sort of deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
So I'm really enjoying it.
Awesome. Do you know there's a big difference between 12 years ago when you came and now? What's the big difference for you?
It's a lot more slick in a way. One can fly it outside and always you don't have to spend a ton of life trying to find public charge for, which is what everybody was doing still, because those phones lasted the whole day.
Amazing.
Yeah, so that was a big difference. That's a big difference. Our phones do better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's great. And as to how I got into the industry, well, I had a Welsh job out, and this you'll have done much maybe, with back up for 13 years, qualified as a subs captain. And then after that, I came ashore and I got into my insurance things. Of course, but it is not. There's the evolving day for about really 20 years. And to build that time out of, an increasing amount of time through into acting, and what did you community theatre here and your favourites.
It's me. And twice.
Very good run, and might have been my Miami South, and like more and more as one day I go for the actually cracking line about that left every way in the company of actors and that helpful. And like I went from school. I did 18 months postgraduate course in a very good school in North School. And then I was myself military world as an actor, and they did quite well in London. But I was aware that I was up against a guy should be here.
Quite, yeah.
Resumes this short, and I didn't. I was needed, and so I came out here for a look-see in 2002. And thought, if I can get my resume together, good odds, and I could get a visa, maybe I'll come out here to fair with it. And then I got the lead role in indie review to Sam Lyle, and I did a best that he played. And as a result of that, I was absolutely gaping. And I came out here in February 2011, and I'm still here.
You know what's interesting? The thing that travels through a lot of my podcasts is this feeling of when you get to this industry later in life,
you're behind. The train is left the station and you're constantly feeling you have to catch up and more. Tell people who've been doing this for long. So, do you have advice for people to try and, if that is the case, catch up to the train? Or like just any advice in general for people trying to get into the thing for later on?
There's a couple of things I'd say. Firstly, play to start. In my case, I haven't done a business background. I'm very organised in that business. Quite. I've got called out in acting well in a very delicate way. Getting my reels, getting my headshots, getting my representation, finding the right project. The secondly, make your own stuff. I made a web series with a day of why being allowed. Working some friends on the web series, it did well, but I got it. Okay. And then I then did a short film, and in fact, the screenplay for that short film was a runner-up Sundance 2012. Well, that was another reason I came out this next year. Going, Sundance. Wow, for sure. So, wait, look on the thought. Get it together, make short films, make web series, make well, like movies if you can. Nowadays, make an onion movie. Just a Chinese experience to tell our story purely for the end.
Here, tell me more of that. How did you develop it? How did you get the cast?
Well, we're going to be doing a panel about this in a few minutes, so you'll come along and see it, but it's brief. And Brian, he had a suggestion that a stream-involved line about he's based in chief stories of your partnership in World War II, which I was obviously aware of because of my background C, would make a great audio experience. And we said, well, what's the motive? And basically, make it play here. I believe it was chance. So we reached out to the God standard that we reached out to this. Let's see. You got this. And managed to put it together with we both Ryan Cox and the help of it. And almost very sad stuff. And that's it really well. And Harry Naman, he started the book and bought it in you because was what that.
Oh, of course. That made it so easy. They could be in there.
Well, some had home studios, so we islands, studios for it on the COVID safe. And then moved into working in houses nearby and all the out to 47 meters in Shameford. Mainly done by tree working in the Finland studio.
It's my babies.
And then we
that thing's right over here as well.
very proud of it. And Stevie now caught, I believe, and my thoughts are most of it's just.
Yeah, that's the Lord. I mean, either you saw it. Oh my gosh.
Don't have to clean your CNs. And I have a black and white print of we had videos cameras there at the same time. We have confirmed. Had a black and white print of people that the headphones on the mic. It is how we have been this stream.
Oh my God. It's a lot. It's reading your word.
Like, no bit about how.
Yeah, if that's not a cure for imposter syndrome, I don't know what is. What you thought? You are meant to be here when you're meant to be thinking. I could tell you.
Believe it. I do think that when you come to this place, when you think of like life experience, the people who are running actors may not have a body. They may have much more tears on the hammer on stage. Do they have a life experience? In my case of Tower CEO as a CEO, vice president of a company, and it's so much not for a role of a vice president of a company. Well, I've been there.
Not been there.
Yeah, so I have a genuine list.
So it's usually to go over it. The other thing that I find about even travel into a little bit later on in life is that there's a lack of almost desperation that I find because you have to get a nice foundation of not just financial all that stuff, but also real artists buses. Do you think that's the case when you're on this shop?
I think I have learned, as we all have to enjoy the audition process for yourself and not think of it as getting a job, but you get the rub. And many times, I found that I got a job because something immediately somewhere else had a recommendation. And then I got a job on a plane back in the UK, and it's the cover play with someone else. These flow the old righty got up to me, said, "Oh, but this Don Morgan guy, he's fine. Here we go."
Yeah.
That kind of validation is very important. So if you do a good audition and they like you, they'll bring you food.
Yeah, absolutely. They'll bring you back. Is there anything you're looking forward to coming up this year? Some projects you have coming up?
Well, yes, this in the Singapore. That's our big project. So that's what I break down. It's still in the screenplay. the audio play in this. Well, I wrote 15 years back. I wrote film version, I wrote TV series web shit out. Then I have to, really check what it is. And what I think lies, I just did it. Part of another story, there's no narration. With a big cast, loads of location. It's a big 36, that's about it.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. It's West Silly. With what is that? Generals eating all of this is the world is. Can we just tell me really quick, we have a panel to get to, what was the reason, or what was that share in making it into an audio? Was there behind that? Like, why audios? Why not find build it as supposed?
Oh, quite early, because why add actually touted as well.
Yeah, it is. And we've heard Oliver.
And that well-known story with that not going to I'm glad it does that I keep continuing. Whereas the Laran, it was private about this. Mark, the God is living something to do. And so, obviously, we really want to make this as a TV series. Good go for and keep making it. She got, you building a long part of it. It is stung as an example. We would make the idea of you letting the upwards. It's a big word of stick. There's more to the big one. We've done really deeply to outlook with all that.
Where do people find it, or can they find it new?
They can't find it yet. We haven't premiered it. We do a couple of months. You will know. But so
that is fantastic. Wonderful.
This clip is from the live panel at the Cannon House at the Sundance Film Festival. You will hear the voices of Chris Nash, the director of In a Violent Nature, and Pierce Dirks, the director of photography of In a Violent Nature. In a Violent Nature is the only Canadian film to have been shown at Sundance this year. It is absolutely terrifying. I was so privileged to be able to attend the premiere of this film, and so privileged to get to know these two fine, incredibly talented gentlemen during my time at the Sundance Film Festival. Please enjoy a little clip-it from their live panel at the Cannon House.
You have a kind of a unique path on this film. We're going to talk about sort of the switching of roles and how that came about.
We've always worked together on different projects. Sometimes Nash is doing effects. Sometimes, like, I'm shooting for someone else. Sometimes I'm working with him as a DP. Sometimes it's the DP director relationship. But for this project, I got involved quite early on. There was a different cinematographer attached. And Nash, want to talk a little bit about the very sort of like original block of filming?
Yeah, sure. So we actually shot this movie twice. We had one block of shooting. We shot in a completely separate area of Ontario, Canada. We had a different DP attached, our friend Andrew Appel, who was an excellent DP and director, just a great guy in general. But during that block of shooting, we shot for 4 weeks, probably about 60-70% of the film. We just had a lot of, being a low-budget indie, you're going to have problems. But this just seemed to be like an unprecedented amount of problems, whether it be weather or illness or it's really, my trauma is just going to be Louise. But when we were done and we did an assembly of the footage that we had, and it didn't feel right. It's just like we weren't quite hitting the note. Our Monster Man didn't look as good as we thought it should. We had an issue where we actually, our main character we had playing the monster himself had a sudden illness and had to be replaced. So with our main character being replaced, we were thinking like, okay, he's in a costume, it's gonna be okay, but the physicalities of the performance was just too different. Even though every replacement gave a great job. So we made the decision to essentially reshoot the film using the remainder of our budget after essentially shooting principal photography. So we had to go completely strip down the crew. Luckily, we didn't have to incur some expenses because, for instance, the cast, any of the death scenes or any of the prosthetics that we had to build, we already had built, so we could recycle those. But unfortunately, one of the things that happened was our original DP, his day job was shooting Dark Side of the Ring for Vice, and then they offered him a position directing the next couple of seasons. So it was something he couldn't pass up, and we were all very, very happy for him. But Pierce, during the original block, was shooting all the BTS, documenting all the issues that happened. So he was, and since we'd worked with him before, he was so familiar with like what we were doing and what we were trying to achieve, that when we had to replace Andrew, he stepped in and just did an excellent job.
It was no slight to Andrew's work either, but whoa, there we go. Yeah, it was no slight to Andrew's work. He did a phenomenal job, but also wasn't trying to replicate any of his style or shots. It was like reapproaching the film from the ground up, basically, and being just looking at everything from a completely fresh perspective before we went back to continue photography.
I cannot fathom making that decision. Being 60% into an independent film and deciding, okay, we're going to reshoot it all. Talk about that process a little bit.
It was, I mean, it wasn't a difficult decision to make because it's such a flippant thing to say that we're just going to reshoot the movie. And then I just left it to my producers, just like, figure that out, guys. No, one of the things that we just had to make some decisions. One of the things that we did experience was that due to the nature of the film itself, shooting remote locations, Brad lugging all of his equipment, we'd have to, I'm sure it's going to talk about this in detail later, but had to get a different, more manageable camera package, whittle down the crew pretty excessively, and then one of the other big decisions was that helped us out was shoot in my hometown, because I kind of wrote it we're the area of Northern Ontario that I grew up in mind. Let's just shoot there. I'll call in every favor from every family member and friend that I have, and just try to get it done that way.
And that original block was invaluable too, because it let us know what wasn't working. It let us know what was, but more importantly, what wasn't working, so we were able to reapproach things, refigure it out. And it also wasn't for nothing, because we still ended up with one shot from that block of the film.
Yeah, one shot. The most expensive shot in the entire movie is an over-the-shoulder shot, looking at another character. But it cost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars.
So we're keeping that shot. I got you.
Yeah, and it also helped that I think so much of the crew were our filmmakers as well as technicians. So anytime everybody was able to say give ideas to how to proceed. One of the deaths, for instance, the final one, all came in was from our camera effects technician. He was it would be really funny if this happened. And I was like, yes, I would. Let's throw this in. But even our we had a couple of first ADs, but they're all filmmakers too. So being able to contribute ideas as far as knowing what I was intending at, providing opportunities to more easily succeed in this event was so necessary. Going forward at all.
It's we went into all the scenes having a game plan, but of course the nature of filmmaking is you can go in with all the storyboards, a game plan you want on location, or just on the day, stuff is not going to work. So being able to have brainstorm and still be able to stick with the bit but rework it on the day was it was crucial for the production.
At what point does that sort of improvised, or that's a great idea for your ending death, with what point of production does that come to allow you the scramble to deal with that?
Oh, well, I mean, that was actually, for instance, that was the only reason that this movie really happened. It was it was an idea that I had for quite a while, but while we were shooting our friend Steve Costanski's doing prosthetics for his film Psycho Gorhand, we were all just chilling out, talking about movies, talking about horror films, and just thinking about what's a different angle for a slasher. And I said, well, I've always had this angle. And so like it was literally like all the behind the scenes technicians. So like the effects guy, Mike Hamilton, who was on our film, was also this guy on Psycho Gourmet. And so like as we were just spitballing back and forth, he was just like, this would be funny. So this was actually like even before the script was written, that like ideas like that would come up, because yeah, we're a pretty tight knit group of filmmakers and creatives, and all work on each other's stuff. So.
And continuing that trend on the set of Violent Nature, Steve was just, we're all joking around, and that's where the concept of his next film came from. So the tradition is continuing. So I'm sure maybe your next film might come from Steve's newest.
Very likely, yeah.
Nice, I love it. I want to be in some of your behind the scenes discussions. See if I can get my next film.
We're spending so much time with this character and looking at this character. It was very important to be able to dole out the details of his physique and figure.
Yeah.
So it was like,
and characters are reacting to what he looks like, and we want to be able to just like let them react and not let the audience know what they're reacting to. So like stage one, him coming out of the grave. Stage two is he finds his like slasher mirror. And then at one point in time, we did want to just reveal everything, but like we wanted to save that. We wanted to save like, okay, what are all these other characters actually looking at? So there's only one actual reveal of who he is in the movie. It's a special time. It's the one moment where he's slightly humane. But because of that, we just had to make a lot of decisions of like how we're going to shoot this. A lot of it is following like third person from behind. And then we're focusing in specific moments like revealing his hands, revealing, his weapons, or even just keeping him in the shadow, keeping him in silhouette.
it was a fine balance of finding shots where it's just like, okay, this would play good as a silhouette because it's really about his form here, very a little bit more detail to kind of feel bits of his hands, to feel like the texture of the weapons, to feel like how dirty his clothes are. It was all about just finding the sort of the right textures that we could reveal on this character.
Yeah, and it also just, when you're doing that, when you're, putting up these restrictions upon yourself, I find that it really does create a more significant and impactful image or something more memorable for the audience.
It's also a really delicate balance of exposition and getting us to understand this character and where he comes from without being able to cut to other actors talking about him. So we're getting sort of off-camera dialogue, we're getting people in the distance talking about the legend of this that's very delicately handled. Were you worried about that aspect of it, or worried about...
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, we do use a lot of tropes that are already established from other slashers. And that is a tool that we use to communicate information. So like, you kind of are familiar with like, okay, this character is this character, this character with this character. I've seen this before in other movies, but we use that as a launching point for us to be able to like talk or discover more about our actual slasher. So because we're following the slasher the whole time, it's all the stories revealed through background chatter of like situations that he's like walking into before he kills some unsuspecting person. So it's like they'll be talking about their own situation that's going on, because there's always like some sort of relationship problem, some sort of like asshole boyfriend or something like that. So we're picking up on all of that and then getting that whole story communicated. But so the sound design was actually incredibly important for this film. But at one point in time, like our mixers, who were amazing, they followed my direction to a fault, where I was like, I really want to have the sound be in the perspective of our slasher the entire time. And so like, everything's coming in at a distance. But that just became, like, we unknowingly created a white noise machine that just, like, it was the first time I watched it where I'm just like, I'm really tired. So we played around with that and just, I'll increase the volume to let the audience like get some story, be able to attach something to it. So, just giving everybody something a little more fun.
And going back to a second what Ash said about all these characters taking such inspiration from traditional slashes, that's one of the things like we are very aware of. Like so much of the mythos of the film is tied to these classic films that the hard hero you love so much. So it was also a conscious decision on our part not to have this movie look like those movies and try to have it be its own sort of fresh sort of take. There's a roller coaster outside of Toronto, and it's like this. It's amazing roller coaster. It's super smooth, but you kind of come off of it being like you don't really know how to describe it because it's so abstract. You don't really feel the speed. You don't feel connected to anything. But at the same time, they had this old rickety wooden roller coaster that once you get on that thing, like you feel it. Yeah, you feel like you're on a roller coaster. You feel the speed, you are connected to your surroundings. And it's kind of terrifying, but at the same time, like, I don't know, it just makes a big difference for me to like be able to feel like that camera's in that space. Especially now, like so much stuff, and like you have, especially if your volumes and everything is just getting like too clean and too perfect. So having like a little bit of imperfections in the movement of the image, just to make things feel alive and natural was very important to us.
I gotta ask about lenses because I'm a lens nerd. What did you use on this employer?
Our primary lenses were old set of Canon FD primes. I just found that the quality that they had was it wasn't too vintage, but it also wasn't too critical like some modern glass can be. And just using those, it gave us like a sort of slightly impressionistic look that helped with the film, but it also didn't. Yeah, it really worked well for the frames that we had and all the nature, and it also looked great on drawing. And they were also small enough and like light enough that we could use them on the package without any sort of issues with the rates. They stabilize and get your bench ring dead.
Yeah, a really nice, compact, beautiful package. And some really nice extended depth of field being used in this in dark night situations around the campfire. With a very limited package. It's really beautiful work in that.
Oh, thank you. One of the things we definitely looked at ahead of time is like we referenced and looked at a lot of stuff shot at 16 millimeter. So we definitely love that kind of like deeper depth of field that a 16 millimeter beside you just has by nature of the format size. And when we were looking into cameras ahead of time, we were looking at some of the full frame stuff, and full frame just didn't feel right for this project. We wanted to like Super 35 sensors, just like the sweet spot where we get that sort of like good deep depth of build room to do it. Because it's weird, because we don't really have a lot of scenes in traditional coverage. So we'll have sequences where it's like Johnny's just like a key in front of us, but at the same time, like way off the distance, something is happening that the audience sees the clock. And so it was very important about finding that depth of field that was deep enough that we could still direct the audience's eye to stuff, but at the same time, like not lose out the details or the brand, because we also wanted to feel like the woods itself. It didn't make much sense for us to go out to all these remote locations and just had such shallow depth of field that all we can see is this guy walking in a jacket blur. We wanted to see those mates.
Chris, you've got a bit of a background in dabbling with prosthetics and makeup. Not getting away any spoilers, but you do not disappoint in this film with creative murders and violence, awesome sequences. You want to talk a little bit about your backgrounds with prosthetics and sort of the way that you approached the violence in this in a violent nature?
I have a background in prosthetic effects. It's, just growing up being a horror fan, something I was always interested in, and making like even just like horror shorts on like VHS with my parents' camcorder. Wanting to do something a little, wanting to show some blood, show some stuff. I just learned from any like Vanguard magazine at the time, special features on DVDs, but really big. So I was like just devouring those, trying to figure out how to do prosthetics. And then, I just got into the industry, doing a lot of like just my own stuff to begin with, but then meeting other directors and prosthetics artists like Steve Kostansky, And yeah, we both have an approach to shooting prosthetics where, being in the industry, working on TV shows, working on prosthetic, like any kind of gags, you work for weeks on something. And then when it comes time to shoot it, you're on set and they're telling you like, yeah, we're gonna get this before lunch. Don't worry, we'll be going home early. And then it's always the last shot pushed to the day and you have one take and it's never great. And then they just go to work with VFX anyway. So we've been, our approach has been, all the effects are kind of just a whole other deal of themselves. Anytime we have to incorporate an actor, we'll shoot out like the actor's coverage for it, like with any specific location we need. But afterwards, it's almost like a completely separate unit where we have just a time. We're not under a schedule for the actor having to leave, and it just gives us time to like dabble and perfect things.
I've throughout my career, like I've done a lot of second shooting for different films, and like my sort of up to this point, a lot of my work has been filming practical effects for films and just like prosthetic effects. And like they are so amazing. I have such huge respect for the talent, but it's like any performance. You need time to coax the performance out of like these effects. You can't just go in and be like, okay, one take, it does a thing, and then we can just like get cut, right? But like, no, you need time to work at the performance, but being able to capture stuff in camera, it creates such a visceral feeling from the audience that is so important, especially in this type of film.
And also because like sometimes you might only have one take because of like, it's a destructive medium in a lot of cases where you're building something, you're building a sandcastle, and then it's like you're waiting for the ocean to come in and just tear it down. So you have one take at it, and the prep time of doing it second unit where we're like ironing out every detail, knowing that we've got one shot at this. Let's make sure that everything's plugged in. And yeah, everything's hooked up and we're ready to go.
This next interview is with med-surg nurse turned actor Salou Sisse. Oh my gosh, he is incredible. He is in a film that debuted at Sundance. Like I said, he is a legit second act actor. He's originally from Sierra Leone, now based in Los Angeles. And our little conversation that we have is absolutely, oh, what a gem of a human being. I had such a great time chatting with him, so much so that I 100% need to have him for a full, quote unquote, normal episode of this podcast because he has such an incredible story to tell. And I felt like we just got a little teeny tip of the iceberg of his beautiful story. And I definitely want to know more, and I know you will as well. Please enjoy this little teaser from second act actor himself, Salou Sisse.
The film that you're with, have you been able to do a lot of promotion of yourself as an actor?
I've done so much press, and I've also taken the liberty of hiring publicists. And I really push hard. So I not only have publicists in LA, I'm based, Michael Yoda, Rachel Hassani, Grace Topolian, that's in one office.
Yeah.
I've also got a lady in the South.
Yeah.
And I've also got an amazing lady, Olivia Shuang of Jade East PR in the UK. So,
and did you find that was really helpful for you? And
I think so. I think so. Very helpful. I'm doing a lot of these podcast interviews, a lot of live interviews. And really getting not just my name out there, but also getting people familiar with my work. You know what I mean?
Nice, yeah.
Which is what I want. I want people to see me on screen, especially people in the industry, other writers, directors, producers, and other actors.
Do you find coming from a career that isn't acting, right? Or like, do you find it really hard to promote yourself?
Not really.
No?
And I'll tell you why. Because I feel like a lot of it has to do with self-discipline. I feel like absolutely studying. I spent just as much time, actually more time, on IMDb, for example, scrolling through, reading about who's producing what film or what actors attached to what project and that sort of thing, and just educating myself.
Yeah.
As you know, like when you're in school for medicine and you're studying, whether it's chemistry or biology, it's a lot of sitting down and studying.
Yes.
Right? And we've had some sleepless nights where you got an exam the next day and you have to prep, right? You got to be ready. I feel like it's really just set me up for what I'm doing now.
That's so interesting. And what I find really interesting about that is
think so many people find, because this is such a quote unquote whimsical career path, right? Creative, you're an actor, it's not taken seriously as a business, I find, where that is such a great business mindset, I think. And treating it as you would any other job. You have to educate yourself.
Yes.
And I think it's hard when this is a career where there are stories of people who were plucked from obscurity and never had to do any training and became a famous actor.
Right.
Where in your career as you're a surgical nurse, is that correct?
Med-surg, telemetry, yeah.
You can't just get plucked from obscurity and say, now you're going to do this job.
No.
So you can be in the operating room.
No.
Where acting is, people don't take it as seriously, the education piece of it.
They really don't. And I'm glad you bring up education. I'm in training 2 days a week, every Tuesday, every Wednesday, with a lady named Ivana Chubbuck. Same lady who trained Ivana Chubbuck when she won her Oscar for Monsters Ball. Wow. So, I mean, that amount of training, the amount of focus, also, it's pricey, right? Yeah. I mean, I do private coaching with a lady named Crystal Lee Brown. It's $100 an hour. With Ivana, it's $275 an hour. Yeah. So it's not cheap.
No.
So it's a lot of self-sacrifice, a lot of delayed gratification. So many people want it now. I've been at this for 9 years. 9 years, from November 17th of 2014 when I moved to LA to now. And things are finally beginning to pick up. And now it's not an overnight thing.
For sure.
Even those, like you mentioned, somebody being plucked, they're still, if they're not careful, they'll fall off. It's why we have these one-hit wonders, right? Where they make a great record or a great hit and they disappear. It's like, where did they go?
Yeah.
Well, you have other people, like I give an example of like an artist like Drake, right? If we want to talk music, where this guy's constantly putting in, producing things and making music, and that's why he's relevant.
Yes.
You have to be able to put yourself out there and just be able to do the work, you know what I mean? And not be scared of that aspect.
So tell me a little bit more about what brought you to where you are here now. How did you get here? Your story.
Absolutely. So, when I was 15, my father moved back to Africa, Sierra Leone, West Africa. And when I went to college, he came back for a bit, I'd say when I was around 17, 18, and then he left again. So I feel like a part of me's got there's this little boy inside me that really wants to be seen by his dad, and I think that's a major reason why I went into film and TV.
Yeah.
I remember one of the last things that my dad saw me do was improv in college. And I remember him being really thrilled, laughing, having a good time, him and my mom. However, my mom knew he was going to be leaving soon. And so her thing is, you need to do a degree in nursing so you have a solid job and a good income. Yeah. Whereas my dad said, this kid's good at what he's doing, let him do it. So I think a part of me is really trying to satisfy my father, you know what I mean? So I've got that part of me that's like that little kid that just wants his dad to see him and validate him and, have that recognition.
Absolutely. And I think that's a vein that travels, I know, through a lot of people I chat with who changed careers into acting later on in life, is that they were told by well-meaning, well-intentioned people, or not, that, yeah, great, you're wonderful as a child performing little plays for your family, but that's not a reasonable career path.
Right.
I think it's really interesting that you kind of got both worlds, right, from your mom and your dad saying, yeah, you should go the reasonable career path, but also look at the talent you have.
Yes.
Yeah, so tell me the decision to do, literally you've done both, right?
I have, excuse me.
Don't worry about it.
I've literally done both. Luckily, I've been a nurse since 2009, December, when I graduated. So we'll call it 2010. And now in 2024, it's 14 years. I'm actually surprised, right? It goes by really fast.
So fast.
But I'll tell you, look, I'm so grateful because when I first moved to LA, I stayed with a woman, Miss Julia Higuero, shout out to her. She's a real estate agent. She's very fond of me. She sat me down one day at a table and she said, Salud, you should buy a house. But I'm living in East LA in the city of Downey. And I'm like, I don't want to live here in East LA. I need to be on the west side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's where my class is. That's where everything is. She's like, look, your first home doesn't have to be your dream home. And I'm glad I took heed. I listened to her advice and I bought my first home. And that's allowed me to, for example, rent goes up every month.
Yeah.
Or every year, or whatever it is, right? Yeah. But with me and my mortgage, it stays the same. If I refinance, I can drop it down. Yeah. So ultimately what I'm discussing here is a foundation that I've been able to have from the very beginning. And I think it's very important as artists because there's so much up and down. There's so much, you'll book a role, a recurring role, a co-star role maybe becomes a recurring role, or you shoot a movie. There's so many variables, you know what I mean? So when you finally have a point in your career where there's some consistency, it's a good place to be, but you have to be prepared for the dry moments where things aren't really going as planned.
For sure.
You know.
And do you find because what I think is so frustrating for people in those dry moments, and just in general, is the lack of control that we have as artists. Where I think in a career, especially in, the operating room, med surg,
it's consistent.
It's control. It's consistent.
Yes, because people are always going to be sick. They need orthopedic surgeries. They need they have cardiac issues, respiratory, what have you. So I think in those moments where things are slow, it's a good time to pick up a book and read. It's a good time for meditation. It's a good time to create on your own, whether you're writing. It's a good time to just make sure that you're engaging in class, audition technique, scene study, maybe even improv, right? So you're keeping your instrument sharp.
Absolutely. Do you have any advice for people who are looking to change careers later on in life, or switch from a more reasonable career path to one with more creativity like you have?
Yes, I would say make sure that your foundation is solid. There's nothing worse. Like right now where I'm at in my career, I'm doing well artistically.
Yeah.
And on the business side, I'm also doing well because I've got the funds to pay for publicists.
Yes.
I've got the funds to fly myself to Sundance and put myself up in a hotel and, support myself while I'm here. I've got the funds to go to Cannes or any other film festival where I can promote myself even further. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I would say make sure that your financial wherewithal is in order, really.
I think that's so key. And I think so many people who are coming at this later in life, we feel like we're behind, like the train has left the station, we're trying to catch up. But I think we can't ignore the fact that if you have a solid foundation, especially financially, the desperation almost isn't there.
Yes.
As actors.
Agreed.
Yeah?
Agreed. So, you feel more free to take risks. For example, when I auditioned for Manadone, they tell you not to play music in your auditions. There's a lot of stuff they tell you not to do. You got to know the rules to break the rules, right?
Right.
A lot of stuff in there that I did that was unconventional. But I'm glad I did those things because I thought to myself, what would I like to see?
Yeah.
As an auditor, as a casting director, what do I want to see that's gonna be different from what I've seen for the past hour I've been looking at tapes?
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I was very sexy, I had my shirt off. I was playing music, I was dancing.
Yeah.
And then I got onto the scene. So it was very compelling. It was almost like I had a beginning, a middle, and an end. So you're right, absolutely. When you've got a solid foundation, you're not scared to take risks. You're not dependent on every job, and there's no desperation. Shortly after shooting Manadron, I did another show, 4 episodes on a show called Broken Seeds. And I love the storyline. I got to play a father, I'm a dad.
Yeah.
I got to play a nurse, check that box.
Cool.
And a boxer. And this guy gets Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS. So I went from being extremely healthy, and I got to do a physical transformation. So I lost like 15 pounds, right? We shot the end first, so came in very skinny and scrawny. I got to fly my mother out to set. But during COVID, the directors were nice enough to let us sit in the director's chair. And, it was just amazing experience, you know what I mean? But I was able to do that coming off of Manadron when my reps telling me, don't do that. The pay is very little. It's not good. The pay. Forget the pay. I love the artistry of it all. The fact that there's a homicide in there. There was a suicide in there. There was me boxing. There was me being sick, defecating on myself, urinating on myself. It was just beautiful to see on screen. But I got to do that and showcase something completely different from Manadron,
And I think what makes me so happy to hear about that is this is why we change careers anyway, because we're so missing that creativity. And as wooey as this sounds, that is what life is about, especially in the second half of our lives. We need to do that because what else is there? It's legacy.
Yes, and I think empathy. Absolutely. And I think that's why, tangible things are nice to have, right? Yeah. I've got a home in LA, which a lot of people can't say that they do, so I'm blessed and I'm grateful. However, none of that's coming with me. But what's staying behind, though, is my legacy. Yes. The films I make and the TV shows I'm on, my children can always turn on and watch their dad. They can always see images of their father, and that, oh my God, when I see that moves me emotionally. It really moves me. Also showing my children that, anything is possible. Believe in yourself. You can make anything happen. It's going to be a struggle.
Yeah.
It's not going to be easy, but you can make your dreams come true.
Oh,
And that's the legacy.
that's legacy.
You know, because these things are nice. A nice car, a nice home. But man, that legacy, it goes on forever.
That's so powerful. And I think a big thing that I learned from another actor was, he was watching himself tell his children, follow your dreams, do what you love. And then it hit him, I'm not doing that. How can I tell my children that when I'm not doing it myself?
Right.
And I think showing that you are doing what you love,
Yes.
I think, again, that is, as a child, you just being able to witness that is so powerful.
It really is. It really is. And, that's why when I come to these things, oftentimes I get little knickknacks and things like beanies and bags and things that I can take back to them wherever I'm at in the world, whether I'm in Germany, Berlin, if I'm in New York shooting a show, if I'm in, Cannes at the Cannes Film Festival, I always bring something back for them just to let them know, like, your dad really loves you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And he misses,
Right. And he misses you.
thinking about you while
Always.
he's at this, right?
Always. And I use them so much in my work, I really do. So it makes my work a lot more riveting, a lot more heart-wrenching, and very nice to watch, for the viewers.
Yes. People want to see that. Sure. Can you tell me about the film that brought you here to Sundance? Tell us the story and your role in it and how you got involved.
Absolutely. So I did a picture with Adrian Brody and Jesse Eisenberg. Odessa Young's in the movie as well, and myself. Now, Riley Keough is an executive producer on there. And, she's a sweetheart. She's very talented. Her and another lady named Gina Gamel, they won the Camera d'Or at France a couple of years ago. First time Writer Director Awards. And so I auditioned, they loved me, they brought me in, which really, I always give them their credit and their kudos because they really opened the door for me. It's my first big breakout role after 9 years of being in Hollywood. So that film right there had its world premiere at Berlinale. I was under the impression it was going to be here last year at Sundance, but I think there was a conflict of interest because Jonathan Majors had Magazine Dreams where he played a bodybuilder. Now, in Manodrome, I'm a bodybuilder. Jesse Eisenberg's character is an amateur bodybuilder. He's also perplexed because he's dealing with he's battling with his sexuality. So there's that. He's got a girlfriend at home who's pregnant. The money's low. He's not living his dream. He's an Uber driver. So, and of course you've seen what Jake Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger did in Brokeback Mountain. So there's elements of that, right? There's the LGBTQ theme. There's also, it gives homage to Taxi Driver, Robert De Niro's Taxi Driver, and also Fight Club. So it's an amazing picture. The writer-director John Trengove, he's an award-winning writer-director. And look, everybody in this picture is with CAA. I admire and adore CAA. I've read the book Powerhouse.
Yeah.
Right, Powerhouse. Yeah. It talks about Michael Ovitz and how those guys left William Morris and developed CAA. And it's such a powerful story. It also supports my notion that, you have to have an obsession with what you're doing. You can't do this thing like a hobby. It's like if you're in a relationship with somebody and I'll call her sometimes. I'll text her sometimes. What kind of relationship is that? But if you're consistent, you wake up in the morning babe, how are you? You're consistent. You text her, hey babe, mental check, emotional check. How are you feeling? Physical check. When there's a relationship with your business, with your craft, then there's a lot more, there's a higher likelihood that you're going to succeed.
Well, it's going to come back on you, right? Because you're investing in the relationship.
Exactly.
They're going to,
What you put in is what you get out.
Yes, that's what you need. Tell me about, for most people in my audience, again, are newer to the industry after a different career. They would never even think in their life bingo card that Sundance would be part of it. What has it been like for you being here?
It's been astronomical. I mean, it's been a lot more than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
The other day, I'll tell you, I was at the Audible House and I met up with Coleman Domingo. Kenya Barris was there, Coleman Domingo. It was a private sort of a gathering. Yeah. Shout out to Olivia Shuang, my publicist. And it was really nice because I got to chat with him. We bonded over a film he did called Zola. And in Zola, Riley Keough was in the film as well, Taylor Page. And so I told him that, Riley and I worked on Manodrome, and so we bonded over that. Also complimented his work on Euphoria with Sam Levinson, Assassination Nation. So we just bonded. So we made a connection there. Yeah. He started following me, I followed him. And it's really, and this is like a place where the real connections can be made.
Yes. Yes.
You know, because success and evidence always leaves clues. So mentorship is something that's really important, right? So hopefully over the course of some time, about a question or a concern, I can reach out to him and say, hey, what do you think about this? And hopefully if he has the time, if time permits, he'll reach back to me and say, hey, this is what's going on.
Absolutely.
So in this environment, you get to meet people, you're in proximity with, I'm at the Macro House with Michael King. Charles King.
Oh, yeah.
Charles King was an executive at CAA. One of the first black executives at CAA. Now he's developed Macro. Macro's, they do film, they produce.
I was like, that's
Macro's King. Macro's huge.
Yeah, we were just over there.
And the fact that I was able to get on the list and go to their party or get on the list and go to like speaking engagements and listen and learn. This is a lot of connections to be made here, but I never knew. For 9 years, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Well, you don't know what you don't know. So now I've been here and I plan to be here every single year. I also understand the importance of writing and producing your own content.
Yeah.
You learn, it's a constant learning. It's like in nursing, they say, or any health field. When you feel like, you know it all, that's when mistakes can be made and you become a dangerous practitioner.
Totally. Absolutely.
So you have to stay curious and empathetic, I think. Those two things. I think artists have to stay curious and empathetic.
That. Do you have anything that you are looking forward to, projects coming up?
Well, yeah, next month I'm going to London to work with a guy named Gerard Johnson. It's my first time in the UK, so I'm looking forward to that project. I'm shooting for about a month, so end of February till end of March. So that's something that I hope folks really want to, look out and see. Manodrome is now on Apple TV, Amazon Prime, so they can see it there.
Where could we see it? Yeah.
Yes, so they can see it there.
Nice. Wonderful. Do you have any final words of wisdom?
Yeah, just have faith in yourself, stay curious, keep reading, keep studying, ask questions. Sometimes you can feel kind of dumb when you reach out to people and you're like, oh, what's up? But you have to sometimes you have to be fearless. Ask questions, and you'll find your tribe always. You'll find people who want to support you and, edify you and build you up.
I love it. This next conversation is with filmmaker and actress Amira Lopez. Oh my gosh, I met her in the best way possible. I had just finished an interview with someone at the Impact Lounge, and she was kind of watching a little bit over my shoulder and came up and introduced herself afterwards, and we struck up a conversation. It was delightful, and I said, oh my gosh, why don't we have a conversation that is recorded? Please, please, please let me interview you. And she is incredible. Please enjoy this lovely little conversation with a beautiful stranger turned friend, Amira Lopez.
Okay, so I'm an actress and then also a filmmaker and director. And I actually started acting first, building myself as an actress. But then, I just kind of wanted to change gears because I wanted to make bigger roles, especially for women that are Latina, Indigenous, and I thought, well, why not get into the writing space of things?
Yeah.
So I started writing shorts, indies, and started getting to the festival route, and so I kind of, in the middle of I was in 10 years as an actress, in the middle I switched to writing, directing, and now I do all three. So yeah.
And what brought you into the acting world to begin with? Were you always an actor? Were you something else before?
Yeah, I've always kind of been a actress since I was a little girl. So I did a bunch of plays, and that's how I got started. So plays.
Now, a lot of us get told by our parents, well-meaning people, that a career in acting, producing, the entertainment industry is not a reasonable option. Go be a doctor, go be a lawyer.
Oh, my mom totally wanted me to be a doctor.
Really?
Or a lawyer, because my mom's a lawyer in El Salvador. So that was her thing. My mom was like, be a lawyer or doctor, and that would be amazing. Yeah.
So what made you not do that? What brought you to
Honestly, I've always just wanted to create. I think I'm an artist in my soul, so whichever outlet that is, whether it's in front of the camera or behind the camera, I've always been an artist, and I used to dance, you know what I mean? So when I did plays, I did all of it. I acted, danced, and sang. So I don't know, I feel like I've always, as a little girl, always had this thing to just pour it out. Yeah.
Do you have any advice for anyone who might be looking to switch into a more creative career?
I would say people are going to tell you it's hard because everyone, that's the one thing it's hard, it's difficult. you have to do this, do that's going to take you a long time, da 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 da. But I think ultimately is if it's in your heart and soul and you have the passion for it, no matter how hard it gets, you're going to push through. And then you're going to meet the right people that come along in your path to help you out. So but you have to be specific on what you want and say, this is what I want to do. So then the people around you, if they hear you, they can help you. So that's my best advice. And yeah.
And tell me, do you have anything that you have coming up that you'd like to promote or you're excited about?
Sorry, I have to get going. But one thing I would say coming up is a short film and my feature coming up.
Yeah.
They're still on the low, but hopefully we'll get into Sundance. So pray for that. So stay tuned. But you can follow me on Instagram.
Yeah.
The Armida Lopez. And that's me.
Thank you everyone for tuning in, and thank you everybody for allowing me to interview you, record your panel conversations, and just be a part of your Sundance experience. I so appreciate it. We will be back to our regular scheduled programming and normal, air quotes, episode next week. I hope you will all tune in. Bye.